Good evening, everyone. Time for another silver update. You are looking at the daily chart of silver. As you know, I recommended on Friday that you should back up the truck and load the boat and buy silver on the weekend. Partly because I thought we had touched the lows, but also partly because when we go low enough that the supply begins to dry up, that's always the time to buy. So you can see here on the chart, we have the key thing I wanted to point out here is that we've hit a reset of negative 2.08 on the MACD. This is actually the lowest level we've hit. This is in 3 years, but it actually goes back farther than that. It won't be apparent until the weekly is updated. Right now the daily is updated, but the weekly hasn't turned. So you can see though we are lower on the MACD than we were with this sell-off, the May Smackdown, and with the sell-off in 2008, where we hit $8.50 an ounce. Now this sell-off here, I actually was a buyer. I believe my first buy was around 15 or so, a little kind of a test the waters buy as I watched it go down. I also did another buy around here just above 10, and then I did a very, very large buy at 8.50. Now I remember this because this was an overnight price. This price didn't actually print in the day. It closed above 9 and then it opened above 9. The print for the 8.5 was actually at about 5 a.m. on that day. That's when I bought a very, very large position in silver, physical silver. Now I just recently bought, if you saw my channel, I posted a bulletin of the buy that I made, and I've covered that on APMEX. I actually bought these African Wildlife Series coins. I was looking through junk silver, but junk silver was rapidly disappearing, and I found this coin, a coin that I had never seen before really, and this is the 1 ounce Somalian African elephant, which I think is a beautiful coin, front and back. It's actually made by the Bavarian Mint, so it's made in Germany, and it's interesting, it's made for Somalia, which is a country without a government. But I was struck by this coin and I posted my buy price. I bought in at 32.74. That was when silver was trading at 28 overnight. Silver actually touched down to 26 even. If we go back to the 5 minute, actually even the 1 minute's going to show it. And no, we're going to have to go to the 5 minute. So when we hit this 28 even, this is actually when I made my purchase. If I would have waited a little bit longer, maybe an hour and a half or so, I would have been able to buy at 26 even, which would have given me a price on this coin of $30 even with the bank wire. So I'm a little bit disappointed I didn't bottom ticket, but at the same time I'm very happy that I got a lot of these coins for $32.74. Now there were, when I first purchased them, there were over 1,000. There are now about 700 left. I really like this coin. I highly recommend it. You can turn around and sell it right now for nearly twice what you pay. There's not a lot of volume in them, but it's clearly worth a lot more than this. So you want to try to find what's available, find what's attractive, and I like to stick with the numismatics, especially on the huge downdrafts, because when you have a huge downdraft, all the prices compress. Now, for those of you who were watching, Gainesville actually shut down, and I wanted to highlight some principles that I found. These were true when I bought back in 2008, and these reasons actually occurred again at this point here. And the first point is that the bottom happens when you cannot act. Now, as you know, I was long the AGQ, and I turned around and exited that position today with a, let me jump in here, we seem to be rallying strongly again. I actually exited that long today. We're getting right back up to that price right now at about even, but the long option that I purchased right here at the close, and you can see we're back to that price, I sold it right around here, took a tiny loss, but the option performed exactly what I wanted to do, which was to lock in a bottom. If the bottom would have been, say, here, and then we would have risen from there, it would have locked in a bottom for me, so I could have turned around and purchased the physical. Because if that would have been the case, this would have been the price that we would have seen. We wouldn't have seen the price that I purchased at. So it gave me an opportunity to come in and get a low price and be confident and wait for that price to be established. So I'm now neutral on the paper position of silver. I am strictly in the physical, and I'm very, very happy about picking up coins here, even though I missed here. I imagine there were some people who picked up at 26, which would have translated to a price of maybe 30, maybe 31 with the premium that was being charged. Now, the Provident Metal site was virtually out of everything. The Gainesville site was shut down. They actually closed their site down for maintenance and didn't reopen until 9 a.m. So all of this price move was actually blacked out on Gainesville. You couldn't purchase during this time frame. And that brings me to the second point I wanted to make, is that when the sellers shut down, it's time to buy. Now, when I bought in 2008 at this point at $8.50 at about 5 a.m. on that date, it was virtually impossible to put an order through on APMEX. I literally had to spend an hour of time loading pages and confirming things to get a buy order in at APMEX at that point in time. So the second point is that the sellers shut down, and you can see that behavior. You saw it last night with Gainesville. The other important point is that stocks run out at the bottom, and that's a good way to find out which coins you want to buy. We can go through a lot of these coins here, especially the Perth, and a lot of the coins that were available are now gone. So the half-ounce koala, the 1-ounce koala, and you can go on through the list. Even the tigers, which I wanted to talk about real quick here as well. The tigers are part of the Lunar Series 2, and they were listed for $119, and you can see they're out. So even those tigers that were listed at $119, they probably dropped to maybe $110. I don't know what kind of adjustment APMEX made at that point, but over $100 they sold out. So this was the last coin I purchased. I've mentioned a number of times that my last purchase before this purchase here was at the price of 25. I paid 30. So I paid a $5 premium when the price was 25 to pick up these tigers. Now let's look at these tigers real quick, because this is going to demonstrate why I emphasize buying the numismatic coins. If we go to eBay, and I know a lot of people dismiss eBay and say, well, that's not a real market. Well, it is a real market in the sense that real people are paying real money for these coins. So it is a real market in that sense. And I've got a saved search for some of the coins that I purchased in the past, and we'll just go ahead and choose the koala, and then we'll populate the tiger here. And these are sold coins. So you can see on the 24th, that's just 2 days ago, that's after the drop, the tiger sold for $100. Here's another tiger for $71 on the 23rd. Here's another one for $89. Here's another one that sold for $117. So there's a very good reason to purchase the numismatic coins, and that's that when they run out, this last principle, stocks run out at the bottom. When the bottom occurs, you don't see those coins come back. Partly because those coins are ordered on the basis of pre-order by the sellers. Now, this one that I purchased just last night, the Elephant series, the African series, this coin is even rarer than the tiger that I purchased the last time I made that purchase. So I fully expect that when this coin runs out, and I don't even know how many buyers there are for this coin, I just stumbled upon it last night, but I've done quite a study today to try to find other sellers of this coin. I haven't been able to find them. So I fully expect that when this 1 ounce Somalian African elephant coin runs out, that will be it. There won't be any more available. There's now 700, and even at the price of 35, 36 if you can do a bank wire, or at 36 if you have to buy on a credit card, I highly recommend this coin. I'm not trying to ask you to piggyback me. I'm just very impressed with this, and I can't wait to get the coin. So that last point is very important. You know you're at a bottom when the sellers run out of stock, when the sellers shut down, and when you can't act on your positions. These are all things that occur at these drastic drops, and you can see we're rallying very strongly right now. So I almost wish I was in the paper AGQ, but again, that was just to provide a entry point for the physical, because you have to remember the game here. The game is to accumulate as much physical silver as you possibly can, because we don't know when they're going to pull the plug. And pointing that out, I wanted to segue into the margin issue, because that's a big issue with what has happened over the weekend and in the last week. The issue of the margin rises in the silver market is very dramatic and very important, because they're doing something now that they've never done in the past. This chart is a chart that was posted to a Zero Hedge article, and this took the original margin requirements. The latest increase here on silver is the 26th. That's today at the end of trading. The initial and the maintenance went to 24,000 and 18,500 respectively. Actually 25,000. Now, if you look at the percentages of those, when this was calculated, it was roughly 16%. I'm going to go ahead and do that on the calculator so you can see. Last night, let's say when we traded at 26, a 5,000 ounce contract was worth $130,000. Now, the margin requirement on that was roughly $25,000. So $25,000 divided by 130,000 gives you almost 20%. Now at 16 here, last night it hit almost 20% with the projected increase. That is unheard of. That is approaching physical. In other words, the futures market, for the most part, and you can see he's done this historical study, we actually had a point where silver was racing ahead and margins had not caught up, and it only took 3.5% of the value of the contract of money put up. In other words, you were borrowing 96.5% of the money that you were using to buy silver with. Today, we're at 15 to 20%. So the COMEX and the CME especially is beginning to make the margin requirements on silver so high that it's approaching physical speculation. That's really important because it's an admission by the COMEX that silver is a unique animal. It's different. I don't have time to do the study here to show you what all of the other respective margins are, but the margin requirements on most of the other commodities are roughly 5 to 6%. Silver is now 3 times that. Silver is the exception to the rule. It is the enemy of the futures pits. Ultimately, it's going to defeat them, because once they reach 50 to 100%, then obviously people will prefer to just simply buy physical and not even bother with the COMEX and the CME. So, very important stuff. It appears to me that the bottom is in. I'm pretty convinced of this, going by the principles that I've seen in the past, that you're not allowed to trade the bottom, that when the bottom occurs, there's no supply available, and when the bottom occurs, they shut down on you and don't let you trade. So I think the bottom is in. I think it's still a good time to pick up physical silver, but it may be too late fairly soon. I think that we may be back up to 40 in short order and then on our way to 100, which is still my projection for the end of the year. And we'll talk to you next time.